My name's Ed Fullman, and I'm CEO of Foxtrot Code. I'm also the author of this app, which we call our apps Foxpatches. And this Foxpatch is the Austin Crime Incident Foxpatch, and you can find it on the marketplace and download it for free and use it just like any Foxpatch that's been listed on the marketplace. This particular Foxpatch produces the data that renders the map that you'll find on the Foxtrot Code website near the middle. And the Austin Crime Incident Map is a map of the last 7 days of crime incident reports in the Austin area. This Foxpatch accesses an index, which is a place where we store data on Foxtrot Code. And in this case, we're actually storing Austin's data along with other cities. And we essentially keep that index updated by downloading information that Austin publishes on the Socrata website and then indexing it and cleaning it up and putting it on an index so that it's available for use, as in this case. So the data flows through the Foxpatch. Things happen to it. It's reduced down in these steps, and then it's transformed in these steps so that it's ready to be mapped. And then a separate process produces a report hourly to update the map that you actually see on the Foxtrot Code website. There's also real-time dashboards with the same Foxpatch that are used to run a dashboard that produces data on demand, which are both functions that you can do in Foxtrot Code. But we're going to walk through how this Foxpatch works so you can understand it and use it. And a couple things that you want to see here are that in this left panel you can edit these, what we call knots, these individual icons. And there's descriptions in here that I've provided so you kind of know what's going on. Now, one of the things you will learn quickly on Foxtrot Code is there's nothing faster than not starting from scratch. That's kind of our motto on this stuff. And in this case, there are some complicated things going on with this data that you don't have to redo again. You can simply reuse this Foxpatch and customize it to your purposes. And just to give you a quick example of how that would look, a Foxpatch is created from 3 pieces. Reducers, which are these funnels, refactors, which are the beakers, and then reformats, which are data exploration knots, and those are these bar graphs up here. So to build a Foxpatch like this, you simply grab one of these off the top bar, like I'm going to pull this reducer down, and then you can make some selections and it'll work. As an example of how you would customize this one, you might, for example, pull a refactor on and then attach to this one here, add location data, which is right here. And here we go. So this is basically a new branch. And basically how a Foxpatch runs is you can run it from any endpoint. So any knot on the Foxpatch can be the place that you start. So if you started stringing off knots in this direction and you ran one back here, it would come all the way down through to this point to start. And that's how you can create relatively complex Foxpatches that do multiple different kinds of analyses all in the same grouping. You can't run them all simultaneously, obviously, but it's a good way to keep things on the same page and to simplify some rather complex different kinds of applications. So I'm going to take this back off, and we're going to go through this. So the first reducer here grabs the data from the Austin index, and it essentially at this stage it's pulling every record in that database. The second reducer actually does some reduction. It reduces all of Austin to just the last 7 days, which is a much smaller data set and what we want for the map we want to render at the end of this process. It could be for feeding a mobile app, it could be for feeding a system or some kind of website. The next reducer does the kind of thing that you're going to want to do in your Foxpatches, especially with data produced in a way that you didn't produce it by someone else. And in this case, we need to filter out bad data. And essentially what we're doing is we're looking for a field that it should exist in good data, which is this occurred on field. And if we find it, then we're going to include it. So every record that has the occurred on field and it's populated, we're going to take. You could do a deeper interrogation to make sure it had the right kind of data for your purposes, but that's all we really need. And now we're going to do something that's rather complicated. We're going to create basically a lookup where we're going to look up against a file that has location data in it. We're going to look up the street addresses from the Austin data, and we're going to output latitude and longitude. Now, the reason that we're doing this is Austin does not publish with their incident data latitude and longitude. However, they did provide a file which we use to create this lookup file of all the addresses and latitude and longitude for those, and then we apply it here on the fly. And what this lets us do is then create data that can actually be mapped, which is what actually happens at the end. So this is a pretty crucial piece and a great example of why you wouldn't want to do it again. So you could pick this up right here and you'd have Austin data with location information on it. The next step is deduping. It's pretty typical in crime data that I see published that there will be multiple events with the same incident report number or case number or whatever the police department calls it. In this case, it's called an incident report number. We want to just take one so we're not over counting events that already were recorded once. The next step is making sure that the data that we have has location information in it. So we added the location data here. We made sure that we weren't looking at multiple records, and here I'm further filtering to only have data that includes location. So I'm actually looking for whether or not the latitude field has something in it. Then we're cleaning up the latitude and longitude, which is something I have to do for this particular data set because sometimes there's multiple latitudes and longitudes for some reason. And I'm just taking the first one in a multi-value field like that. So again, something you wouldn't have to do if you wanted to reuse this. And then in this step, we're doing something a little bit complicated. We're creating a blue marker that shows up on the map. We're actually creating the data that gets rendered when you click on it. So this is taking information about the time and the address and the crime type, which is what Austin provides, and putting it into a description field that this knot, which is formatting the data for Scott Haskell's clustered map plugin for Splunk. So as you know, these run on Splunk. Scott Haskell built a clustered map plugin, which is included on the Foxtrot code instances, and that's what actually renders the map. So this is the whole Foxpatch, and it produces data that is ready to be rendered on the map. And that's what we were here today to talk about. Thank you very much. Feel free to look up more instructional videos by clicking on the Learn tab on the Foxtrot Code website. You'll see other instructional videos about how to build your first Foxpatch, list it, reuse one. If you have any other questions, feel free to write us or visit us on Slack or some other method. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.